Sometimes when you have a first-time director, you end up with a movie like Transcendence, and sometimes you end up with a movie like this that's actually good. Molly's Game is written and directed by Aaron Sorkin and stars Jessica Chastain, Idris Elba, Kevin Costner, and some other people who aren't in the movie very much. And it's the story of Molly Bloom, a former Olympic skier who finds herself running high-stakes poker games, which may or may not be illegal, and as the story gets on, it gets a little more illegal, and then she gets all her assets taken away from her and she goes to court. Now, this movie is based off of a true story. I did not know anything about this story until I heard about the movie, but when I looked into it, it's really, really fascinating. This woman was running poker games for some of the richest and most powerful people in Hollywood, and then when her game in Hollywood was over, she went to New York and did the exact same thing in New York for a couple of years. And she did it all just because she could. She had the brains to figure out how to run the game, she had the initiative to find all the players and bring them together into a room to start playing poker, and this movie is compelling. The real strength of this movie comes from the script and the performances working side by side to give you something that's really, really interesting. Now, I haven't always been the biggest fan of Jessica Chastain, but in the last couple movies I've seen her in, I've really liked her, and I think this is the best movie I've seen her in. She adds a lot of subtlety to this performance that I think will get her some Oscar attention, but I don't think she's gonna end up winning, unfortunately. Idris Elba is in this movie too. He plays her lawyer, and he's also really good. He gives a really rousing speech about what kind of a person Molly is kind of near the end of the movie, and it's very inspirational and uplifting and kind of takes everything that you've seen in the movie up until then, condenses it down into like one single moment, and I think that that is great. Kevin Costner isn't in this movie a ton, but the bits that he's in are great. He plays Molly's dad, and he plays one of those dads who nothing that his kids do is ever good enough, and they always have to be better and better and better. And I think Kevin Costner played that part really well, because I think it's very similar to what he did in Man of Steel. Yeah, he's not a great dad in that movie. Obviously, the script of this movie is great. It is written by Aaron Sorkin, and if you don't know who he is, he's one of the best-known writers in Hollywood, and arguably he is the best one. He has a very specific style of writing. It's very fast back-and-forth dialogue. He wrote The Social Network, if you've seen that one, and I think that style really lends itself to this movie. However, where I think this movie is a good movie and not a great movie is because of Aaron Sorkin's lack of direction. I suppose maybe not so much lack of direction as inexperience in directing. This movie doesn't have enough of its own style and uniqueness to it to make it really stand out. Its writing and performances are really great, but the movie as a whole doesn't have this cohesive feel that you get from movies like The Social Network or other movies that he's been a part of. But I think that will just come in time. As he directs more and more projects, he's going to get more into that groove of what it's like to direct a movie, and in the future I think we can expect really great things from him. Another part of this movie that kind of let me down is the cinematography. The camera shots in this movie are all very basic. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing that really draws you in. There aren't any really interesting angles or interesting camera movements or really wide-angle shots, things like that. They don't play with depth of field a lot. It's all very basic. And that's all fine, but when I'm going into a movie expecting it to be an Oscar-caliber film, cinematography is one of the things that I'm looking for, and it actually let me down. One of the biggest questions that I was asking myself as I was leaving this movie is also another one of the problems that I have with the movie, and that is, why is Michael Cera in any movie ever? I don't understand the appeal of him. I've liked movies that he's been in, but I've never liked him in a movie. Well, except for the Lego Batman movie, so I guess he's got that going for him. I don't have much else to say about this movie. It is a very compelling story, very compelling performances, very compelling script. Everything else kind of falls a little flat. But because I was so interested in everything else that was going on, these other things are just minor details. Overall, I did really enjoy the movie, and I'm going to say that Molly's Game is above average. So thanks for watching my review. You can give me a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Let me know what you thought of this review. You can give me a subscription if you haven't done so already. And if you have nothing else to do, go watch more movies.